How's it going, guys? So today we're going to teach you guys how to replace a fuel pump on an 03 Chevy Silverado. In particular, I have an 03 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. But they're all the same from like 1998 to 2006, whether they were the 1500, 2500. Diesels were probably different. This is a gas. So we're going to teach you guys how to do it the way I like to do it. We're going to show you the tools that we're going to need to get the job done. All right, so first off, you're going to need yourself a new fuel pump. I got this one at O'Reilly's. It was about 180 bucks, and this is a direct OEM fit. Right there, OE fit. You don't have to do no replacement on the wire harness and anything like that. It's supposed to drop right in. All the clips are supposed to hook up. That is the part number there if you guys are curious. So, you are going to need a flathead screwdriver or a clip tool. You're going to need T30 Torx. If you can see that there, a Torx bit. It's almost like an Allen head, but a little bit different. You're going to need yourself an extension. I've got two here, depending on how long they are, going up inside the frame underneath the bed. And I've got a breaker bar, just in case those bolts are too tight. Most people don't have an impact, so I just threw a ratchet in there in case you have one. In my case, I'm going to be using an impact. And the last tool you're going to need is an 18mm socket. In this case, there's two ways to do your fuel pump. You can either drop the fuel tank or you can pull the bed off. So right before the fuel pump went out on this truck, I had actually put gas in this truck. So it's pretty full. So I don't want to mess with dropping this fuel tank and getting gas all over me and all that other stuff. So if you have a buddy or two that can help you lift this bed up real quick and move it back, that's the easier way to do it in my opinion. I don't like dropping a tank and getting dirt in my eyes. I don't like laying under the truck for that long and things like that. So the way we're going to do it today is removing this bed and just bringing it back a few feet so we can access that fuel pump. All right, so first we're going to start out with removing our filler neck, just detaching it from the bed so then when we lift the bed back, this isn't attached anymore. So that's where you're going to need your T30 Torx. In my case, my bolts are already broke off the plastic tab there. They're not connected anymore. But if yours are still connected, you're going to remove that one and that one there. And there usually is two more. That holds the gas lid on. But at least those two right there to remove. In my case, like I said, I don't have to pull those off. Only thing I have to remove is this plastic clip here. So you're just going to get your flathead screwdriver in there. There's a little tab underneath there. You can kind of just start working it up. You don't want to get too Western with this tab. They will break. If they do break, you can go to O'Reilly's and they sell plastic clips. You can get yourself a new one. It's not too big of a deal. Get that bad boy out of there, and now you just kind of give her a wiggle. She is not attached anymore. We're good to go on that. Alright, so the next step is I like to remove the tailgate. The tailgates are pretty heavy, so if you can get this tailgate off before you remove the bed off, it's going to make your life a lot easier, you and your buddies lifting this thing back. If you got some strong buddies and you guys can lift it on with it on, no problem. It's going to be probably three of us removing this bed, so we're going to try to make it as light as possible before we move it backwards. It is very easy to remove these clips here. You just pull this little tab back, pull up, and she'll slide right out. Now that we've got both of our support straps off there, you're gonna lean your tailgate. I don't even know what degree that is. About 45 degrees. You're gonna pop that side off there. Come over here and just give her a little tug and she'll come off nice and easy. Now we've moved underneath the truck. We are at the back side on the driver's side. So if you can see up in here, there's a few little clips up in here. Chevy made this super easy. I love working on these. It just makes it so much easier to remove this bed. So there's 4 different clips up in here. You're gonna remove the 2 middle ones here. They're just a little pinch clip. You just pinch your little tab there and they come right off. I'll show you the little pinch. See that tab right there? You just squeeze it nice and hard and pull it back. And we're gonna do that same with the top one there. Nice and easy. And what those are is those are your tail light harnesses. So you got your driver's side and your passenger side. You unhook those, kind of get them up out of the way. That way when you get ready to remove this bed, you can pull it back and nothing will be attached. We are almost ready to start pulling the bolts on the bed. The one last step that you need to check for is if there is a bed ground. So all trucks from factory are going to come with a bed ground. They're either going to attach somewhere here at the bed and come down to the frame. They're usually up on the passenger side over on that side, or the driver's side up front by the cab. I know in particular, my truck does not have a bed ground. I've had this bed off a few times. Somebody had removed it in the past, and I'm not worried about putting one back on. But if your bed has never been removed before, just check for that ground strap, because the last thing you want to do is have you and your buddies lifting this thing up and something catches you and you have to put it back down and catch it. So look for that bed ground. Okay, now we're moving back under the truck, getting ready to move these bed bolts. So if you start right at the back here, you'll see that the frame has a notch right there. And if you look up inside there, that is a bed bolt, 18 millimeter. Come back here, another notch. Look up inside there, there's a bed bolt. So that is your two rear bed bolts. You're gonna have two on the driver's side, two on the passenger side. Then you move up to the front here, and you'll see the one right there. And then you move all the way up to the front. There'll be another one right there. I don't know if you can see it or not. So that is gonna be your 8 bed bolts, 4 on this side, 4 on that side. I'm not gonna record myself taking those out, pretty self-explanatory. But like I said, that's where you're gonna need your long extension to go up through those bed or the frame holes. To go up to those bed bolts, you're gonna need a longer extension to get up inside there. So that is it. I'm gonna get these bed bolts pulled and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I called some buddies. They came over and they helped us lift the bed back. If you can see, we just brought it back far enough to get to the fill pump. I usually like to set the back end over here on the bumper and then the front end over on the tire here. So now that we're to the point where we can access the fill pump, I always recommend pulling your new fill pump out of the box and just checking, making sure that everything's correct. So I went to identify my fill pump, and I can tell you right now, it is the wrong one. O'Reilly sold me the wrong one. First thing that we can identify is this one has 2 clips, this one only has 1. That's not too big of a deal because some vehicles came with an EVAP pressure sensor. So that's what that is just a pressure sensor. The main one is your fill pump harness, which is okay, that is okay. But what is not okay is all our inlet and outlet lines. If you look at mine, or this new one compared to mine, they are completely different. Those all 3 come that way, these 3 go that way, which orientation isn't always a big thing, but as you can see, all the line sizes are completely wrong. This one's super huge. I don't even have that big of a line on these ones. So I'm gonna box this back up. We're gonna go back to O'Reilly, get the right fuel pump. I'll let you guys know which one that is, and we'll get this thing swapped out. Okay, I am back from O'Reilly's, and I'm just making sure, verifying that we've got the right pump. 1 plug, 3 coming out the side, exactly the same. So we know we got the right pump. Now we can move on to pulling that old one. I'll show you. This is the correct part number, A30036. That is the part number for my truck, an 03 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. There is a difference between crew cab, single cab, long bed, short bed. I don't know what the differences are, but they do have different part numbers. So just make sure you're getting the right fuel pump for your truck. I'm not sure where it got messed up there. Not a big deal. This pump came with a new pigtail in case you have to wire it in. Mine on the truck is the right pigtail, so we are good on that. Don't have to worry about wiring that in. So let's go ahead and get that pump pulled. All right, like I said, the first step is take an air blowy, broom, anything. If you don't have an air compressor or anything like that, just get something, clean this up. You can take a water hose, a scrubby, and rinse this all down. This has a drain right here on the side, so if you get water up in here, it's not a big deal. Just get it as clean as you possibly can with whatever you got. All right, so with this portion of the job, you're gonna need a flathead and needle nose pliers. So I like to start with the clip, get that thing out of the way. If you see this little gray tab right here on here, that is your safety clip. So what you do is you just kind of get that moved backwards. It's not gonna come all the way off. It just needs to move back far enough so that you can push your clip right there. We're good to go. I like to take something, like you can squeeze it with your finger. I like to take something and just push down on the black tab. And you hear it pop there, you're ready to pull. That's that easy. And now these fill lines, I really like these fill lines. They're not like other vehicles where you have to have a special tool to remove them. These actually have just pinch clips right inside here. So you can see on this far one, it has clips on the outside. Can you see that there? So these little kind of white plastic clips, what you're gonna do is take your needle nose, pinch both of those in, and then there you go, you are pulled off of there. Just like that. And then I like to do the outside one so you can get to that one next. And that's this outside one is the same white pinch clip. Ooh, there we go. And then this middle one is this black piece here. You're just gonna pinch these in. And there you go, all your fuel lines are off. And now we're ready to pull our fuel pump ring. It's this metal ring right here. I'm gonna use a sledgehammer and this flathead. If you don't have a sledgehammer, you can use your palm of your hand and smack the screwdriver. Sometimes it's hard and you're gonna need a little bit of extra motivation. So you can see on the top here, this one's got a little bit of a lock clip right here. So what we're gonna do is just move that lock clip out of the way, make sure that don't fall back in the hole there. And then we're gonna be able to move this lock ring. So it is gonna rotate counterclockwise. If you see these little tabs hang over, and that's how it locks in. So we know that we need to rotate it counterclockwise. So I'm gonna put my screwdriver there. Boom, tap, tap. That was nice and easy one. I've had some that come off really rough. And you're just gonna pull up this ring, and then out comes your fuel pump. So from here, your fuel pump has this little, kind of like a scavenge, can't remember what you wanna call it. It's a little reservoir that holds fuel though. So before you pull it all the way out, just let her kind of drain out. That way you're not dumping fuel all over your shop and things like that. You can kind of see it draining back there. And then you're just going to kind of wiggle it out and get your sending unit out. So for the people that don't know, this is your sending unit right here. And what that does is that tells you how full, or tells the gauge how full your gas tank is. So obviously if it's down low, your tank is empty. If it's floating up high, it is full. So make sure you don't damage this little bar or the mechanism that works off of right there. So when you're going to put your new one in, you know, snake it in real nice and easy so you don't damage your new pump. All right, so we've got our new fuel pump, our new fuel seal that goes around here. So what you're gonna wanna do is take a rag and kind of clean up this seat here. Make sure no dirt falls down in there and make sure that's all cleaned up. The last thing you want is have some dirt and debris in there. You won't be able to seal this ring down all the way, or it could leak. There's many things that can happen. So make sure you clean up your ring, get your fuel seal on there. And then if your old pump had a filter sock on it, make sure your new one has a new filter sock on it. Most of them come with it. But if they didn't and your old one has it on there, you may have to go purchase that separately. Make sure you get your sock on there. And so there is the seal on there. We are just about ready to dump that in. I'm gonna go get a rag, clean that up, and we'll drop this fuel pump in. So when I wipe this seal off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to bring it towards me and out. So if I'm taking my rag, I'm gonna kind of hold it on the edge here, bring it towards yourself and out. That way you try to minimize the dirt that falls into the tank. You're never gonna get it all, you know, something's always gonna fall in there. It just is what it is. But do your best to keep it all out of there. That's what that filter sock on your pump is for, to protect your filter. Most vehicles have an inline filter that's on the rail. I've already replaced that. A lot of times when you go buy these pumps here, in order to get your warranty with the pump, they want you to replace the fuel filter as well. So when I'm all done with this, even though I've already replaced the filter, I'll show you the location of it underneath there and what tools you'll need to replace that as well when we're finished up with this. So we are cleaned up and ready to go. Just gonna wipe this down, make sure there's no dirt, no debris on that stuff, and we're gonna slide this guy in. And if you can remember the orientation of the pump, we knew that the fuel lines came out this way, correct? Most of the time, they're gonna have a little alignment tab right there, and that's what that little pocket on the fuel tank is for. So we are pretty much lined up and ready to go. Before we set that all the way in, get your fuel pump ring back up around here. Okay, so we got it pushed down far enough. I've got the little bit of metal tab up underneath there. Make sure your orientation on your fuel pump tab was where it needed to be. And as you can see, it's already starting to slide up under those tabs. Take your screwdriver, your flathead, and you're gonna kind of change directions there a little bit. Make sure your lock and tab's gonna be out of the way. There we go, she is locked in. Your little lock and tab's back in its place, everything is locked down. So we're just about finished. Pull off your little caps for your fuel lines. Bring them back where they need to be. So this one didn't have the little plastic clip on there. So that one's gonna slide right back over. You need to go pull those other little plastic tabs off of your other fuel pump and put them on. And you can just take a flathead, whatever you got, and you're just gonna pull those little tabs up over the notch there on both sides. Get that spun around. And there it is. Pull that off there. And then you're just gonna slide it back over that one. And then just make sure your tabs are lined up with your clips there, and it's back on. So I'm gonna knock this one out real quick, and then same with this. You're just gonna slide that back on. Once it's latched, you push your safety pin in, and it's good to go. So we're fully assembled. Everything is put back on. All my lines are on nice and solid. Clip is on, everything is good to go. Now this is the next step. Before you put your bed back on, before you do anything else, what you're gonna wanna do is actually test the pump, make sure that the truck is gonna start. What you don't wanna do is put a new pump in there. I have seen it before where you buy a new pump and it was bad from the get-go from the parts house. So test it, make sure it's gonna start, make sure everything is good before you put it all back together, assemble it, and then find out that it didn't work. So now you gotta remember that we pulled the fuel pump out, so there is no more fuel in the fuel lines. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna cycle the key a few times. And I can actually, from here, hear the fuel pump going. And every time you cycle the fuel pump here, it's gonna run for about 3 to 5 seconds. And I'm gonna cycle it a few more times, that way we make sure we get enough fuel up to the fuel rail. All right, we'll do it one more time. Now we're gonna fire. Perfect. And that is it. We know the fuel pump is good and ready to go. I could hear it firing out here. Okay guys, that is it. That is everything you need to know on how to replace your fuel pump on your Chevy Silverado. So putting the truck back together is exactly opposite of how you took it apart. Get your buddies, put it back down on the frame, put your bed bolts back in, make sure you hook up your lights, hook up your ground strap if you have it, hook up your filler neck right there, put your tailgate back on, and you are good to go. Just reverse the process that you did when you took it off. So that is pretty much it, guys. Appreciate y'all watching. I am going to slide up under here real quick and just show you guys where the fuel filter is underneath the frame. I do believe I used a 3/4 and a 16 millimeter wrench for these bolts, but you can use a crescent wrench, anything else like that. You just need 2. There's going to be one on the filter side and one on the frame side right there. And it's going to be on both sides there. And then when you put it in, you can see the little arrow on the filter. That is the flow, which way the gas flows through there. Like I said, make sure when you buy your fuel pump to replace that fuel filter. There's no reason not to. It's like $10, plus it'll help with the warranty process for the fuel pump if it is bad or goes bad right away. But that is it, guys. Appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you later.
Damn. Yeah.